This is Say a Loud episode 6, Money Talks. And the first thing I want to talk about, man, before we get into the content, I tried to go house shopping this weekend. You know, my kids, they're still relatively young, but me and my wife, we talked about as they're growing, as they get older, we wanted to move into a bigger space. And I'm on Redfin all the time. So I see a lot of the new listings that pop up. And I saw a listing that was so beautiful. This joint was beautiful. 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms, 3.5 bathrooms, 3,500 square feet, but it was out of my price range. It was like at the top of my price range. I said, forget it. Let me go see it. So we drove down to the city where the house is, and we just checked it out. I was really looking at it, trying to see if the numbers would work, see if we could make something happen. And I don't think they were going to put an offer in for it, but I did ask the realtor, we saw the seller's agent there. We asked the seller's agent, hey, can you at least talk to them and tell them we'll sell our house that we're currently in, give them that cash, and will they rent to us for a year? Will they give us the opportunity to build up some more money so we could put a larger down payment on the house? They said no, but that's their prerogative. They have every right to do that. But the point is, when I saw an option to try to make a deal, try to make something work another way, I took it. I didn't just say, oh man, this is out of my price range. I can't do it. It's not going to go anywhere. I said, let me throw my hook in the water, see if I could catch something, see if I can catch a different type of deal, a different type of situation. Maybe the buyer maybe the seller will be open to it. They weren't open to it, but that's okay. Maybe we'll find something else that's selling in that neighborhood down the road, and somebody else would be more susceptible to that type of deal. Or maybe we'll wait a little bit, build up some money, interest rates will go down, maybe, hopefully, and we'll have an opportunity to get into that neighborhood because it was amazing. Man, beautiful houses. It had 2 community centers, 2 pools, 2 dog parks, 2 kids play areas. And the reason why is because they built everything in phases. So phase 1 and phase 2 both had those things, and now they're in phase 3, but they've only got 1 house left to sell, and it's looking like it's out of our price range, so we're not going to go for that one either. But maybe, in a year from now, 6 months, 12 months, we can save up a little bit more money, or interest rates will go down, and it'll be more affordable for us. With that being said, let's get into these topics. So the first thing we're going to talk about is prenuptial money, man. We have a conversation over on the Joe Budden podcast. They're talking about whether or not you should be entitled to the money that your partner brings into the relationship.
How do we all feel about prenups?
How do we feel about prenups?
And she's been like, yo, I got a couple $100,000 in purses. What we doing? I got a couple $100,000 in watches. What we doing? Like, whatever we need to do to get to that next step, let's rock out and let's get there. So 100% me. And I wouldn't even consider a prenup. She might have more money than me, too, so I don't really might need to go the opposite way.
Would you Joe?
Absolutely, I would.
See, she wasn't smiling nothing.
Sorry.
Wait, no doubt about it. Like, way more.
No, but I have kids. I have kids. Whatever we get together, it's different. Whatever I have from before belongs to my kids. I mean, respectfully, that's just the way it is. Same, I don't expect anything from you either. You know that. Never did.
Wait.
Keno's like,
What the fuck she talking about?
Obviously, you see that looks like news to him. He's like, what? What do you mean? I said I wouldn't get a prenup and everything that I have belongs to both of us. She obviously does not feel like that. To be frank with you, I agree with her. She said, yo, I had this money from a previous marriage. This is for my kids. And he started rubbing her knee like, nah, I don't know what she's talking about. I know what she's talking about. When you come into a situation, what you have for yourself, what you bring into the relationship, whether you sign a prenup or not, it's yours, right? They say a lot of times that marriage for men is about love and marriage for women is about money. And that's what you're seeing in this situation. He's like, oh, we love each other. Whatever we have to do to have each other's back. I'm not getting a prenup. And she's like, yo, I'm going to protect the assets that I left my previous marriage with for my kids. Regardless of what we have going on, regardless of the fact that I care about you and all this stuff, that's cool. That's real cool. But this stuff is for my kids, and I agree with her. You got to look at your marriage as a business. You got two people, two entities coming together, partly because of love, partly because of finances, but you can't just think about it all about love, right? Because if you married everybody that you had a past with or feelings for, then you're absolutely going to tie somebody to you that's going to bring you down. They're going to be like an anchor to you. I'm not saying that he's an anchor or she's an anchor. I don't know what their specific situation is, but if you just base your entire thing, your entire relationship off of feelings, then you're absolutely going to get screwed in the end. So she's like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not tying my assets that are for my kids to you. We're going to get some paperwork to make sure that we separate them. So when I pass, there's something to be left over for them. And I think that's smart. It's a blind side to him. Maybe they haven't had that conversation, and it sounds like they're not married. So it's a blind side to him. This is interesting. Why is this thing called Pod Wives? And I know Joe Budden's not married. That guy doesn't seem to be married. I get it. It's marketing. It's the brand name. But how about we actually get families together and people get married and not just play house? Being a wife, being a husband actually means something. It's not just a euphemism for two people that are together. But that's neither here nor there. But she's like, I'm going to protect my assets, man. I don't, what we got going on between us is cool and I like you. But what I have is for my kids. She wants to make sure she leaves something behind, regardless of, if he had something that's going on successful and it ends up failing, then she's like, yo, I will fail with you. We can build this together and we can fail together. But I'm not going to tie up the future earnings of my kids, their college funds, their investment money, whatever it is that they need. I'm not going to tie that up just because I like you. Just because we're going to get married. Yeah, there is an aspect to being together that's about love, but that's not the only aspect. There are people that are going to feel different. There are people that are going to feel like that's a little disrespectful, but it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's her money. It's their relationship. It sounds like they're going to have a talk on the way home or when they get home because he's not on the same page that she is. But as far as where I'm at in my head, I'm agreeing with that. I'm agreeing with that 100%. Whatever we build together is ours. But what I bring into the situation is mine. For example, I actually had a similar talk with my wife. I had this house that we're in. I had this before me and my wife started dating. Like I bought it, we started dating, we got married. This is absolutely our house, right? But at some point, we're going to move out of this house. We may sell it, we may rent it. But we're going to move into a family house where both of our because only my name is on here, right? So regardless of how much I love her or anything like that, the financial responsibility is all mine. We're going to move into a house. We're going to upgrade, get more space, get both of our names on the property, and that'll be a family home. It's not to say that this house that she lives in, she doesn't have a say in it, right? If she wants to do a project, if we want to do this or that, if she's like, hey, I think that this should go here, we can absolutely do that. I will absolutely value her input. But as far as like the financial burden and the financial paperwork, it's all on me. Going forward, we're going to have something together. That's going to be our house. That's going to be our family house, which is why we were trying to check out that house that I mentioned about in the intro, in the beginning. But I want to know what you guys think. Absolutely. Leave your comments down in the comment box. Let me know if you agree with prenups, if you don't agree with prenups, whatever it is. Let me know how you feel about it. All right, slutty vegan. We got to talk about this thing down in, I think it was at Spelman. So they got a slutty vegan down in Spelman. They had a slutty vegan down in Spelman. And obviously, they're catering to a certain specific type of audience, and that's already going to mean a limited food menu. But the kids are complaining. They're like, yo, it's a limited food menu. We're on college campus. We only get a certain amount of money, and this stuff is too expensive. They're not feeling the fact that just because this is a Black-owned business, they're like, that's not enough for me to support it. Look, I'm a broke college student. I may not be broke. I may be broke. Whatever the case is, we're looking for cheap food things to be on the go, and we're looking for a wide array, a wide assortment of options. And Slutty Vegan is just not catering to everybody's palate. We've only got a certain amount of time. We've only got a certain amount of money. It has to be something that's going to be accommodating to us. So let's check that out. Give you guys the full context.
A lot of the students were saying, I believe in 2019,
Okay.
and it's a vegan brand, Slutty Vegan. They opened up multiple locations. So their first flagship location was in Atlanta. Then they expanded all across to her hometown, and now they were on Spelman campus. So Slutty Vegan, a black-owned restaurant owned by black woman Pinky Cole, is closing down its Spelman location after being voted out by the student union, or like the student restaurant union or whatever. And some of the students, I was just reading the comments. I reached out to some of the students. They wanted to stay anonymous, so I don't want to put their name out there. But a lot of the students were saying it was limited options and it cost too much. So if you ever had Slutty Vegan, you know they're not cheap. They're not a cheap option, right? It's a premium. It's a premium food, but they got voted out. And I'm not sure if you ever heard of the Twisted Taco. You ever heard of Twisted Taco?
I have.
So they're being replaced. Slutty Vegan is being replaced at the HBCU Spelman by Twisted Taco.
Okay.
So she started the brand in 2018. It's a fast-paced, plant-based restaurant serving burgers and fries, drinks, etc. And a lot of the students just basically felt that it's a good one or two options on there, but then after that, it gets very limited. And if they're going to be spending their money, you know, when you're in college, you just want to be able to grab something.
Something quick.
Something quick,
cheap. Mm-hmm.
And quick, cheap. That's the recipe for a college student. And they voted her out. So when I seen that, I'm like, wow. For one, it's a HBCU. Spelman, all black women.
Yeah.
And the kicker that killed me was a lot of the women in the comments just kept saying, being black-owned, women-owned is not enough. You need to serve.
Being black-owned, women-owned is not enough. If you guys have been around this channel, I don't believe in all that DEI stuff. I don't believe in, putting people in positions just because of the fact that they're black. And that doesn't happen like on a large scale, right? But we did see that with Target, and I've talked about that on the channel multiple times. But the kids at the school said, and I'm not trying to call them kids, but the students at the school said, being black-owned, being woman-owned is not enough. At the end of the day, it's about business. And that was the point that I made about the DEI thing at Target, and that's the point I'm going to continue to make. At the end of the day, people want to protect their money, whether that means being invested in a certain thing, regardless of the fact that it's black-owned or not, whether that means spending their money at Target, whether that means Target taking businesses out because those businesses are not performing well, whether they're black-owned or not, and whether that means Slutty Vegan stays on the campus because it's woman-owned and the person is black or not. At the end of the day, if it costs too much for me to afford and I'm a college student, I'm going to say, nah, double it and give it to somebody else. I don't really want this. And now they've got Twisted Taco coming to the campus. I don't know if that's black owned or not, but as you can see, this move is not about being black owned. It's not about being woman owned. It's about limited options and too much money. What does that equate to? The people don't want it. The student council voted it off. They got Slutty Vegan is voted off the island and off the Spelman campus. So when we have these talks going forward and we're talking about people not being interested in something because it's black owned or woman owned, you got to remember there may be something underlying that's affecting their decision making. And at the end of the day, it's usually about money. Because as you can see, there's no like controversy with the brand. There's no controversy with the person that owns it. It's strictly about the fact that, hey, I don't make enough money to afford this. It's too high priced and I'm not getting exactly what I want anyway. So why don't we bring something here that appeals to a larger audience? We try to cater to a small audience of people that are vegan, and that's cool for them. But the majority of us want something that's a little bit different. So they're bringing tacos, and I like some tacos. Actually, I think I'm gonna have my wife make some for dinner. But there are good vegan options, of course, in that space, in that vegan restaurant space. And I've tried a few. There's actually some place down in DC area, there's an area in DC called Chinatown. And there's a vegan restaurant that's right over there by the Capital One Arena. Man, that burger that they got over there is phenomenal. I don't know the name of it, or I give it to you. I'm not trying to gatekeep the vegan spot. And I haven't tried Slutty Vegan. I don't know if they have one in the DC area. So I can't tell you if it's good. I can't tell you if it's overpriced. But the kids at Spelman, they're like, hey, you could go ahead and do it away with this. This is not serving the needs that we have. It's too high a price, not enough options, and it only caters to a small segment of people here. They want to accommodate the larger group of people, the larger student body, over the few people. Excuse me, I need some water. They want to accommodate the larger student body over the few people that are vegan or the few people that are continuing to enjoy that food. It's not about being black owned. It's not about being woman owned. It's strictly about business, and it's about money. And we've got to remember that when we talk about businesses being taken out of certain places, whether that be Target, whether that be Amazon, it boils down to, hey, is this what the people want? When people are going into Target and they're choosing the option that's not the black owned option, they don't know who unless it's in the display that says, hey, this is all the black owned stuff. They don't know who the owner and the producer of that product is. They know if it's being bought or not. So Target, when they do away with their DEI initiative, it's because the numbers are not performing, which means the people don't want it. That's just my opinion. I know we've continued to have the DEI talk, and we talk specifically about Target on this channel. So I'm not going to beat it into the ground. But this was just another example of something that I thought, related to that. It related to that, and not only the fact that it's black owned, but it's woman owned. And people are saying they don't want it. The kids down at Spelman. We'll see how the Twisted Taco does down there. Maybe it'll last a little longer, 18 months. But at the very least, they brought it on campus and they tried to support it. It didn't work out, but, they gave it a chance. All right, Ryan Davis. Ryan Davis is a comedian. Ryan Davis has been in the public light for a couple of years now. I'm familiar with him. I don't remember if he was on Vine or not, but I've been familiar with him for at least a couple of years. He's on Instagram. He does stand-up comedy. I believe he used to do some skits as well. But he said he shot a special. He shopped it around, tried to give it to Netflix. I don't know what other platforms he tried to give it to, but he shopped it around and was trying to get some sort of support. Try to put it on a platform. Get somebody to take the special and open it up to a wider audience. It didn't work out, and it's not always going to work out that way. So he said, instead, let me take what I got and I'll just release it to the people. I'll just release it on Patreon. The people that support me, they can go get it. And why did he make that decision? Well, he started chopping it up. He was putting it on Instagram, putting it on TikTok. He was getting a filler for who wants this content. Does anybody want it? I'm going to put it out there, see what the people think about it, see if I could catch some fish on the hook. And he absolutely did. He got some clips that were millions of views and some that were hundreds of thousands of views. And then that was on Instagram. So he went over to TikTok. He posted some more clips. He replicated that success. He showed there is a market and there is a demographic of people that are tuned into what I have going on and they're interested in it. So he took that model, that blueprint that Andrew Schultz did in 2019, 2020, 2021. And he said, hey, let me take the thing that I produced and I'm going to put it behind a paywall for the people that want it. Not because I'm trying to hide it from the people, right? He chopped it up. He gave the public some segments. But he said, let me put this whole special with all the bits and all the narration and all the entire thought process, like an album, right? You're supposed to listen to an album sequentially. You're supposed to listen to comedy sequentially. He said, let me put this all together. I put it behind a paywall so that I can still make money from it, where the people that want to support it, they can come directly to me. And I love this. I love this. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love to see people bet on themselves. It's what I'm doing here with this channel, with the Say It Louder channel. This is the place for discourse. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you have something to say it down in the comments. But this is what I'm doing with this channel. I'm saying, hey, I think I have interesting viewpoints. I think I have something that people would be interested in, and I'm going to bring it to YouTube, and people can tune in if they like it, and if they don't, they can leave it alone. That's what Ryan Davis is doing. That's what Andrew Schultz is doing. That's what everybody that is producing content and going directly to the source, the people, that's what we're doing. So I like to see him do that. And I hope that he is successful. I'm absolutely, even though I'm not a huge Ryan Davis fan, I do see some of his clips on YouTube and on Instagram. And I'm not on TikTok, so I don't see him on TikTok. But I am familiar with him and I'm aware of his product. And I'm going to be a supporter. Strictly because this is the thing that I was talking about, again, about DEI, right? When I was talking about Target, I was saying that Target doesn't make or break people. Is it a platform to have your business out there and be seen? It is. But Target is not a make or break for your business. If people want to find it, they'll find it, right? And Netflix is the same thing. It is a platform. It is a big platform. It is a way to reach a wider audience quicker. But it doesn't mean that that's the only way that things can happen and be successful. So Ryan Davis saying, I'm not going to wait for Netflix to give me my shine and appreciate what it is that I'm doing. I'm going to go and I'm going to find the people and I'm going to let the people find me, right? He went out, he posted, he said, hey, there are people on Instagram, there are people on TikTok that follow me. I'm going to go find the people. He put it out there. Then, because he circulated it within his group, there are additional people that found him, right? He doesn't have 4 million, 5 million followers, but the platform that he does have, he found those people, gave it to them, and then allowed them to continue to share it, allowed the algorithms to continue to push him to a wider audience until he found the people that were interested in what he had to bring, what he had to give, right? And now he's like, yo, if you want more of this, I'm going to be your supplier. And you could get it right here over on Patreon. All you got to do is pay $5, $10, whatever it is that he's asking people to pay. And I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to watch it. I'm a fan of comedy. I'm not a super huge fan of Ryan Davis, but maybe this will make me a fan. Maybe I'll get to see a full-length version of what it is that he does. And I'm like, yo, I need some more of that. Pause. But maybe that sounds crazy. Maybe I'll see his comedy special in full. And I'm like, yo, let me go follow him. Let me invest in what it is that he's doing in the future. So, Ryan, if you ever see this, shout out to you, man, for betting on yourself. I like to see more people take the Andrew Schultz approach. I don't know if Andrew Schultz was the first person to do it, but he's the first person that I know that did it. And, that's going directly to the people, allowing them to pay you directly, not having to share any money with these large platforms like Netflix and, getting 30%, 50%, 70% of the cut while they walk away with a lion's share of it as well. You can go directly to the people that want to support you and let them get the product. So salute to you. I hope you have all the success, and I will absolutely be one of the people that buys it. And the people on the channel, now they know about it. And I will link not only his page, but also his information to where you can buy the special. I don't know if it's out yet. I'll check. If it is out, I will link it down in the show notes. All right. So before we wrap up for the day, all right, we've got one more thing to talk about. Bootstrapping the business. If you don't know what bootstrapping the business is, it's taking that money that you get, it's going out, selling something, taking that money that you get and reinvesting it into the business. Now, this does kind of tie in to the Ryan Davis thing, but I want to talk about this because when I initially saw the topic that we're about to talk about, it was coming from a conversation that Mark Cuban had. Mark Cuban is the former majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He sold businesses. He sold an internet business, some sort of business. I don't remember what it was. Some sort of streaming business, like when streaming was first becoming popular or first becoming legitimized back in the 90s and early 2000s when the internet boom was happening. He sold some sort of sports streaming business, if I remember correctly. So he's a billionaire, if you are not familiar with him. And he's been on Shark Tank for the past 15 seasons. Shark Tank is an investment reality show. You come on in front of a panel of business people, whether they're Mark Cuban, Damon John, Kevin O'Leary. What's that lady's name? I forgot her name. Barbara Corcoran and the other one. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. But you come in front of a panel of hundreds of millionaires to billionaires, and you pitch them your idea, and they tell you, hey, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, I want to invest, here's some advice, even though it's not investable for me at this point. So Mark Cuban, he gives some advice during the panel. He says, hey, I have all this experience, and in my experience, I've invested in $20 million worth of business through Shark Tank. And when you take on an investor, you have a responsibility to grow that person's money, or at least do your best. A fiduciary responsibility. That's what it's called. When you take money from somebody, whether it be a public company or a private company, you have a responsibility to try to grow that money, right? All investments are not going to work out. So it's not 100% guaranteed that if you invest in something, you're going to get a return at all or a decent return. But when you give somebody your money, legally, they have a responsibility to do their best to grow it. So during this panel, Mark Cuban says, hey, and he's talking to a panel full of black women. He says, don't take on investors. I know that women, and black women specifically, only receive a certain amount of money from venture capitalists. I know that it's a small percentage in comparison to what white men get and men in general and white women. I know black women are at the bottom of the totem pole as far as funding for their businesses, but don't take on any loans and don't take on any investors. And of course, there was backlash. People did not appreciate the fact that Mark Cuban, with all of his business acumen and all of his experience, they didn't appreciate the fact that he was giving them that advice. They said, do you give this advice to white men? Do you give this advice to anybody else not to take money, to bootstrap your business, grow it incrementally, take that money that you earn, your net income, your bottom line? Do you give anybody else the advice to take that net income and reinvest it into their business to make it grow? And I'm here to tell you, as somebody that's watched multiple seasons of Shark Tank, that's seen Mark Cuban and other platforms talk about this type of topic, he does. So you're overreacting. We've already talked about the fact that when you take on an investor, you have a responsibility to try to grow their money, try to pay them back, right? Try to pay them back for their initial investment and then continue to grow that money. When you take on a loan, you have a responsibility to pay that back with interest. So he's not telling you something that is specific to black women. He's telling you something that's specific to business. It's going to be more pressure on you if you try to take on an investor before you've figured out how to make the business viable for an investor. Now you've got an extra layer of responsibility. Not only are you worried about growing the business, right? Now you're spreading yourself thin by having someone else besides yourself that you're beholden to. Can it be worthwhile to get a little bit more money, right, to help you expand your operations and things like that? Is that a way to grow? It is. It's a way that all industries continue to grow, right? OPM, other people's money. You take a little bit of money in and you streamline your operations, you find new suppliers, all types of things like that, right? But when you take that money, you also have additional responsibility. So if your stuff isn't the best that it could be, if you haven't figured everything out, and you're never going to figure everything out, but if you haven't figured out how to make this business run, who your target demographic is, what your customer acquisition costs are, you're digging a deeper hole for yourself. And if you don't have a shovel that's large enough to get yourself out of that hole, right, which is income coming into the business, not the top line revenue, but the net income, that's what you're going to pay back your investors. That's where your investors get their money from. After all the debts and taxes and equipment is paid for, the net income at the bottom is where your investors get their money back. So don't take on investors until you've proven a track record that you have a viable business. And then you can start to partner with people. That's the advice that he gave. But there was backlash about it for people thinking that he's telling black women, hey, don't go after this little teeny bit of money that is already set aside for you, right? It's like 2.3 or 3 or 4%. Don't go looking for that money. People are upset about that. When at the end of the day, yes, there is a little bit of money that's earmarked for black women-owned businesses, but there's also a way to grow your business without going to those people. Go to them when you've established the fact that you know how to run this business, your stuff is streamlined, and you've got all your ducks in a row. So you can come on, give them a pitch, they come on board, and you guys could be more successful, right? Don't go to them when you've dug yourself a hole so deep, you're like, let me bring some money in so I can get out of this hole, right? I don't know that that's happening in every situation, but that's the advice that he's given. And it's the advice that he's given multiple times on Shark Tank, regardless of the demographic. It's black men, white women, Asian folks, men and women, whoever it is that's on the panel on Shark Tank when they come on the carpet or when he's in other conferences, he says, don't bring people on until you've got all your ducks in a row. So I didn't understand the backlash. I thought it was, I thought his advice was misinterpreted, and I think the people that were offended by it were misinformed. Mark Cuban, I don't know that he has a history of hating on the black community and black women. So if you're offended by what he said, then it's because you're not aware of who he is and you're not aware of the track record that he has for investing in businesses, which he said was up to $20 million, and he's not even in the green on that. So he's continuing to invest in these companies because he believes in the people, because he believes in the product, and he's not seeing a return on it, right? So as somebody that has $20 million worth of hard-earned money invested in companies that are not working out, he's telling you, hey, if I invest in you, I expect you to try to grow the business. And my track record is showing that most of the people are not going to make it. So if your panties are up in a bunch about it, you got to get over that. That's where we're going to end it for today. I appreciate you guys tuning in. This is Say It Louder, the place for discourse. And if you like the video, if you like this episode, absolutely give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. And if you have something to say it down in the comments. Till next time. Peace.